Code monkey, get up, get coffee. Code monkey, go to job. Code monkey, have boring meeting with boring manager Rob. Rob say code monkey very diligent, but his output stink. His code not functional or elegant. What do code monkey think? Code monkey think maybe manager wanna write login page himself. Code monkey not say it out loud. Code monkey not crazy, just proud. Code monkey like Fritos. Code monkey like Tab and Mountain Dew. Code monkey very simple man. Big warm fuzzy secret heart. Code monkey like you. Code monkey like you.
What's new, Dino Dudes? It's me, the Raptor, and welcome to another episode of the Raptor Reviews. So let me tell you a quick story. Before I had a YouTube channel, before I had a laptop of like this quality, I had this old chunky MacBook. It was like a 2004 MacBook. It's what I actually edited some of my first videos on. Now, on that MacBook, they used to have a thing that would let you make podcasts. And I figured, hey, this could be a way for me to talk about movies. Maybe if I started a podcast, I could get it out on iTunes. People would watch it, they'd enjoy it. Maybe I could make a name for myself. Well, I decided to do that under the name Mountain Dude while constantly drinking Diet Mountain Dew, so that would have been a huge legal issue. But also, these reviews were around 40 minutes long each. Like, I talked about the entire plot point by point by point by point. They were essentially film essays, and if I was going to review something like, say, Shutter Island, or The Godfather, or Schindler's List, maybe that would work, because I would be able to talk about the intricacies and the beauty of the film. I was talking about these bad movies like Meet the Spartans and stuff like that, and really nobody wants to hear me talk about Meet the Spartans for 40 minutes. Although that one was like 5 minutes of me just saying this movie sucks, 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 don't watch it. And that still holds up to today. That movie is garbage, do not watch it. So, you guys ever heard the saying, you never forget your first time? I really should have worded that better. We're going to take a look at my first... Never mind, I'm not going to try and make that work. So, if you remember a year or two ago when I reviewed Mega Shark vs. Crocosaurus, I said that was the first SyFy Channel movie I ever watched. It was. So, let's talk about the first one I ever owned. A 2011 SyFy Channel original movie, Megapython vs. Gateroid. Yep. That title is cheesy, stupid, really weird, and I love it. This was the first SyFy Channel movie I ever owned. I actually got it at FanExpo the first time I went to FanExpo. So it kinda has oddly some sentimental value to me. So, it's a weird movie about a giant snake and a giant alligator going at it, right? Well, no, actually. See, the plot this time is that essentially there is a giant... So the story this time is a python gets let loose into essentially a swampland. And then, well, the chief ranger, Terry O'Hara, played by Tiffany, and before you ask, not that Tiffany, not the one from Cult of Chucky and all that. I actually thought so until recently, like... Well, okay, it didn't look like her and it didn't sound like her, but the name was the exact same, so I looked it up and it turns out there was another actress who's also a singer who's a redhead named Tiffany. Kind of confusing, but whatever. I like her. So yeah, her boyfriend dies. She gets really upset by that because, yeah. So she does the most logical thing. She genetically creates a giant alligator. Yeah, she essentially uses, like, I think it was steroids. Like, I believe it was like they injected steroids into raw chicken, then fed said chickens to alligators, and that caused it to grow huge. And then, well, here's the issue. That alligator goes on to lay eggs. The snake then eats the eggs. Therefore, for some reason, that means the snake is going to grow massive as well. Science! I'd cut to the holding car, of course, don't you know anything about science? Clip, but you know what, I don't want to steal from that guy. He works way harder and is way funnier than I ever will be. Go check him out if you haven't, he's hilarious. Anyhow, so it ends up being there's like dozens of giant alligators and dozens of giant pythons just duking it out and killing everybody. And then, in the middle of all of this, well, it turns out that there's going to be a charity ball in the center of like the park, which of course means, you know, feeding grounds. Now, while all this is happening, Terry O'Hara and Dr. Nikki Riley, played by Debbie Gibson and Tiffany respectively, they kind of start going at each other because they blame each other for the deaths that are happening. And in the middle of the movie, for some reason, they decide to have a full-on cat fight that lasts for like a good 3 or 4 minutes and is honestly kind of hilarious because it just seems so out of left field. Because these two women are supposed to be like these respectable scientists and park ranger, like a park ranger and a scientist who's also a, like, sorry, I cannot speak tonight for some reason. One of them is a scientist, the other one is a park ranger and a scientist. They should be, you know, women who think about consequences, who do like all this stuff. I can understand the whole, I'm upset because I lost my boyfriend, my fiance. But then they decide to have a cat fight in the middle of this charity ball. And it's really weird because it comes right out of nowhere. I'm also going to spoil the ending. They both die. Yeah, the only guy who survives doesn't even get mentioned on the back or have his name on the top. I forget his name too, and I feel bad for that. I'd have to look it up. I'll look it up later. This guy, he ends up being like this crocodile hunter, essentially, who realizes, okay, we need to stop these. You two need to grow up. Let's do this. And then the rest of the movie essentially becomes a story about them trying to stop giant pythons and giant alligators from killing everybody. The plot? I never thought I'd say this about a SyFy Channel movie. Actually kind of makes sense. As weird as this sounds, the motivation is kind of understandable, because one of them is a like animal rights activist as well as a scientist, so she doesn't want like the pythons being experimented or killed on. No, experimented on or killed. I cannot talk for the life of me. What is wrong with me? And the other one is like a park ranger, so she wants to keep people safe. Then, of course, these giant monsters start duking it out and killing people. It honestly sounds like one of those old late-night monster movies you'd see just with bad CG and two women from the 80s or 90s. And that's kind of what it is. Maybe I've seen this movie so many times, or I just hold it in such a sentimental way that I'm ignoring how bad it is, because don't get me wrong, it is really stupid. But it's honestly a lot of fun. It's definitely one of the better SyFy Channel movies with giant monsters in it. Like, up there with, like, Dino Croc and Super Gator and Sharktopus, for me at least. So the writing is actually somewhat competent. What is the acting like? Good. By SyFy Channel standards. Tiffany and Debbie both actually do turn in a pretty decent performance overall. And compared to, like, other SyFy Channel movies, especially, like, Transmorphers and stuff like that, they are, like, Oscar-worthy performances. They're not great, but they actually are not distracting with how bad they are, which surprised me, especially rewatching it and trying to look at it as objectively and non-biased as possible. There's actually a number of pretty good performances in this movie. The characters also are likable, which surprised me. You don't feel bad when they end up dying, but that's because, you know, it's a giant monster movie, you're not supposed to feel bad for the humans, but whatever. So, what's bad about it? Well, the CG. That much should be pretty obvious. The CG is terrible. It looks like your typical SyFy Channel movie. The models are off. They don't always seem consistent. They tend to reuse a ton of footage. They're so clearly CG. When a human gets attacked, their body turns to CG, and it looks so distracting. But, excuse me. But it's entertaining. And that's really the best you can ask for at the end of the day, is that it is entertaining. One thing I can actually highly commend about this movie is the soundtrack. There's one song by Debbie Gibson, actually, called Snake Charmer, that plays during this montage of when, like, you know, the snakes and alligators are growing, or pythons or whatever, are growing. It is really catchy and really weird, because it's like a Snake Charmer song at first, like the whole do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do, like what you would see like a Snake Charmer actually play. And then it becomes this weird, like, techno, hip-hop ballad, I guess? And it's really catchy, though. I really do like the song. Whenever I watch this movie, it's always a highlight. So actually, go when you're done watching this, look up Snake Charmer, Debbie Gibson, give it a listen. It might not be for everyone, but it's at least pretty entertaining. And compared to the past few movies I have reviewed, the two Transformers movies, this is actually very competently made. The audio mixing is good, the lighting is good, the camera work is good. We do have a lot of static shots or pretty basic shots, and the framing is sometimes off as characters can be right in the center of the screen, which is something you don't always want to do. But it works. Megapython vs. Gateroid is shockingly entertaining. I've watched this with people who don't like these movies, and even they admitted it was pretty entertaining. So I can highly recommend Megapython vs. Gateroid. It definitely has more of an edge over the other SyFy Channel movies I've reviewed as of late, because unlike these two, which are just a straight-up rip-off of Transformers, this one is kind of its own thing, and it also knows something these two should have known. You're a SyFy Channel movie, have fun. This movie really leans into the absurdity, into the weirdness, into just the wacky zaniness of essentially, well, not zaniness, but the weird style of a giant monster movie, and that does benefit it, as it means the actors aren't taking it too seriously, the audience isn't going to be taking it too seriously, and in the end, you're gonna have a really good time. I've gotta agree with the TV Guide quote on the front, which is, "A glorious buffet of cheesy brilliance." Brilliance? It's a bit generous, but I still really enjoy this movie. Quality-wise, 1.5 Raptor claws out of 4. Like, it just looks bad. Some of the actors in the background are just bad. The CG is just bad. Entertainment? 3 Raptor claws out of 4, though. Overall, I gotta give it like 2.5 Raptor claws out of 4, because it wouldn't be fair to give this a 3 Raptor claw rating, considering some of the other films I've given 3 Raptor claws to. But check it out if you get the chance. Not sure if it's ever on TV. If you can find a copy on DVD or Blu-ray, it might be what you need to get into these movies. It's always been a favorite of mine, and probably always will be. Welp, we have one more episode before episode 250. I have to go catch a train real quick, so, I'll talk to you guys then. Until next time, this has been the Media Raptor saying keep cool. I'll see you dino dudes around. Later.